Alright, so I messed up. Now that Brodie's been to multiple countries, I've really learned some great travel tips for you and your dog. So stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll share them with you. Brodie's in Milan. So this is Brodie's first time in Europe. We're starting off in Milan. We've been here for one night. We haven't been able to record everything else that's happened up until then. It's been crazy. We took a flight to New York, and then from New York, we came straight to Milan. And they don't like dogs in transport here as much as the US, so we couldn't take a taxi or an Uber, and we had to take a train. And that was an interesting experience with all of our suitcases and Brodie on a packed metro. But after tonight, we're going to Switzerland, Zermatt and St. Moritz, and then we're going to Germany. So we should have a fun vlog for you guys. So we checked into our Airbnb. We went with this old style Italian apartment. The Italian people were showing Brodie so much love. I didn't realize we had so many fans in Italy. People who couldn't even speak English would walk up to us, pointing at their phone screen, showing us our YouTube channel or our TikTok account. And I was like, yeah, that's Brodie. So we took lots of pictures. Even people who don't know who Brodie was wanted to take pictures. So we walked over to the Duomo. We were blown away by the Italian architecture. The attention to detail was insane. Everything was gorgeous. So in front of the Duomo, there are a ton of pigeons. I think they congregate there because all the tourists feed them. Brodie was amazed. He just wanted to play, sniff, and jump on them. I even got some bird feed and Brodie kept jumping in my arms. So then we checked out the Christmas market. Brodie insisted on going towards this meat stand, so I bought him an Italian sausage and he walked around parading it in front of the Duomo. And of course I gave him a little taste. Brodie got thirsty, so he went and found this cool old-style Italian water fountain. And like the true gentleman he is, he was drinking straight from the spout. He even made a friend at the fountain with this Italian dog and gave him a little smooch. Then we walked over to the Galleria Vittorio. This was right across from the Duomo. And we saw this gorgeous Christmas tree, so I thought it was a perfect photo op. Every time I pick Brodie up, we always get good reactions. Everything in Italy, very small. Small people country. So then it was time to take a train from Milan to Zermatt. Now you'll notice that there is not a lot of footage of us traveling by train, and that was because it was an absolute nightmare. Lugging 3 giant suitcases, trying to guide Brodie through the turnstiles, and trying to catch our train on time was extremely stressful. So we got to Zermatt and there was snow everywhere. I got Brodie some little booties, so he had to practice walking around in them. And unfortunately, within the first hour, he lost his back right boot. And for the rest of the trip, he'd only have 3 boots. Brodie's seen snow a few times, and every time he loves it. His coat is built for the cold weather. So he really enjoys frolicking and rubbing his head in the snow. So this is where the trip took a turn. The Glacier Express is arguably the most scenic train ride in the world. It's a train that goes through the Swiss Alps, and the sights are unreal. The Glacier Express was one of the few items left on my bucket list to achieve with Brodie. This takes a lot of planning, and getting Brodie on the train was not easy. The route that we were taking was going from Zermatt to St. Moritz. Since it's a tourist train, there are many stops along the way. The train has guides that ensure that all of the passengers board the train before it departs. All right, we messed up. So we were halfway through our trip with the Glacier Express and we made a stop. I wanted to walk Brodie real quick. I went right behind a pillar next to the train and they left us. And so we jumped on a train that's going to end up in St. Moritz, the same location, the same destination. The second half of this trip will not be as scenic and aesthetic. It's going to take a different route. What do you think, Brodie? It was your fault, dude. You took too long to pee. All of our suitcases, my sweater, because I was in a t-shirt in 30 degrees Fahrenheit, pulled away from us at a random train stop in Switzerland. I was trying to explain to the staff what was happening. A lot of them didn't speak English, but eventually we found a different route on a commuter train. Let's just say the sights were not as beautiful on this, but for the second half, Brodie and I were just on a normal commuter train.
Liebe Fahrgäste, unser Zug verkehrt nun auf der Albula-Linie, welche zusammen mit der Berliner Linie auf der UNESCO-Welterbe.
So once we reconvened in St. Moritz, Brodie did a little more frolicking in the snow. He loved laying on the balcony with the cold floor on his stomach.
Does that snow feel good on your belly? You have a cold belly, little boy? You just want my sandwich, that's what it is.
And I even let him have a little taste of my Swiss sandwich.
You can take a lick. Last day in St. Moritz. We are headed to Nuremberg. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Germany. Why do you keep laying on the snow, buddy?
Let me see your face. What's that? Oh, can I see your face? Brodie, let me see your face. Bubba, do you want to go get something to eat? So we only stayed in St. Moritz for one night, and then it was off to Nuremberg, Germany. Lots of people recommended Nuremberg because of the great culture and the Christmas markets. Nuremberg is supposed to have some of the best Christmas markets in the entire world.
We're in Switzerland. We just took a train from St. Moritz, and we have to catch 3 or 4 more trains to get to Nuremberg, Germany, home of the Christmas markets. Brodie, you want to see some Christmas markets? You want hot cocoa? We started at like 10:30 a.m. and we're not going to get to our hotel till like 10:30 p.m. Something like that. Well, as you can see, no Brodie because they got off the stop before I brought the bags off and the doors closed. So I had to go to the next stop and come back to them. So this is the theme. This is the theme of the trip and trains. We haven't had the best luck so far with trains. Christmas markets. Here they come.
Once we took multiple trains and finally got to Nuremberg, it was cold and very rainy. I didn't have Brodie's rain jacket, so I gave him mine. And one of the good things about having a large dog is he can wear human clothes. The German people were amazing. There were so many German Brodie fans that showed so much love. We had some fans drive up from 4 hours away. We didn't tell them where we were staying, but they just went to our city and walked around the Christmas markets hoping to find us, and many of them did. Find something for mom, something for dad. Something for Luna. What should we get Luna?
Was bist du denn? Brüder oder?
A boy.
Boy. Auch.
One of Brodie's favorite parts of this trip was the horse carriage ride. He was staring at them the entire time. I think he thought they were big dogs and he just wanted to play with them. So after spending a few nights in Nuremberg, we were headed to Frankfurt, which is where we were flying out.
We teamed up with K9 Jets. They hooked us up with a private flight. It was one of the better travel experiences I've had. Who wouldn't love being surrounded by K9 passengers on their flight? Oh, I didn't see you there. We're back in the States, and it was a fun trip, and we learned a lot about traveling internationally. First thing I'm gonna say is the United States is far and wide the most pet-friendly country that I know of and that we've visited. We've visited now 4 or 5 different countries. There's a lot more challenges when you're traveling abroad with a dog, especially if you have a large dog like Brodie. Flying to Italy, we took a commercial flight. Brodie is my service animal, which allows him access to the main cabin. If you have a large dog and they are not a service animal, they'll have to be stored under the plane, and that can be frightening for the dog, traumatizing, and you have to trust the airline staff are gonna treat your dog better than they treat the luggage, which is something I personally am not willing to do, but I understand many people don't have the option, and that's the only thing they can do. There is required paperwork, which is country dependent. So for Brodie to go to Europe, you need to have a certain rabies vaccine. Sometimes it requires extra rabies vaccines that they wouldn't otherwise need just in the States. And you'll also need a health certificate. Once you're in Europe, at times you're able to get a pet passport, which allows you to travel between countries. It depends on the country though, because many, like Italy, will not issue a pet passport unless you have a resident address. Ground transport international is much different than what it's like in the States. So we landed in Italy. I tried to get a taxi, I tried to get a driver service, I tried to get an Uber, and none of them would allow Brodie in their car. They all asked that Brodie be put in a crate in the trunk, a crate that I would have to provide, which obviously not something I have on me. So we were forced essentially to take the train and the public transport to our hotel. Trains were easy to take dogs on for the most part. They have dog tickets or pet tickets, so you just purchase that and they're free to travel around Europe. Certain trains like the Glacier Express are not dog friendly, so we called 3 to 4 months in advance, letting them know and providing any paperwork they needed that I was traveling with Brodie. Service animal laws and the ADA, which is the Americans with Disability Act, do not apply internationally. So they have their complete own set of rules, and it's much different. Their access rights are much more restricted than what it's like in the States. So normal day-to-day tasks are a little more challenging over there. Now, Germany, Frankfurt, Germany in particular. Please come to the front of the class. Frankfurt was one of the least dog-friendly cities I've ever been. We were flying out of Frankfurt Airport, and we just needed transport for about 2 miles from our hotel to the airport. That morning, calling an Uber was a nightmare. It was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. I was using Uber Pet. If you're not familiar, Uber, the rideshare app, offers something called Uber Pet, which is specifically designed to let you take your dog with you. In the States, I've never had an issue. In Frankfurt, Germany, the first Uber Pet arrived, and he was driving an older Honda Accord with a closed trunk, an enclosed trunk, a boot for my European friends. He asked that I put Brodie in his trunk. He asked that I put Brodie in his closed trunk and close him off. I couldn't believe what he was asking. I almost thought it was a joke at first. So I called another Uber Pet, and he said the same thing. He asked that Brodie be in the trunk of the car. Not an open trunk where you can see over the back seat, a closed trunk. I contacted Uber and I let them know that this was an insane concept. Is this normal for German Uber Pets? They just said, thank you for reaching us, and here's a $15 Uber credit. So ground transportation and getting around in Europe, specifically Germany, is not easy with a large dog. If you have a smaller dog, a lot of this stuff might be simpler, but my recommendation, if you're going to Europe and you have a large dog with you, don't depend on rideshare apps or public transportation. I would call ahead and try to set up some sort of private transport that understands that you're gonna be with a large dog, like this guy, and I think it'll make your life a lot easier. And for those of you wondering, I know I'm gonna get comments,
Luna was back home here with grandma. She wasn't missing out on anything. She had unlimited snacks and unlimited pool days. And if you're wondering why she has a little babushka head wrap, if you've been following us on Instagram, you probably already know. But it's a very long story, and we'll be posting a new YouTube video this week explaining what happened, what went down. She's doing all right. Mwah. But she does have to wear a head wrap and sometimes a cone for the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. If you guys enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more travel content. We're about to leave on a 3-week road trip. Brodie and Luna are both coming. We're going all over the US. It's gonna be the Brodie Joyride Children's Hospital Tour. We're gonna visit 6 children's hospitals. We're gonna spread joy and do what Brodie does best. So stay tuned, we'll be vlogging that entire experience. So please like, comment, subscribe. Brodie wants to go to bed. So does Luna. Bye guys.